It is a Tuesday morning and your alarm goes off at 6:47. You silence it with your thumb before it wakes anyone. Sit on the edge of the bed for a moment in the dark. Phone screen too bright? You open Instagram without deciding to. Scroll for 4 minutes without seeing anything. Close it and open it again. Then you see it. A notification from your bank. Your account balance after rent came out. You know the number before you read it. You always know the number. It lives somewhere at the back of your mind like a sound you've stopped hearing, but that never actually stopped. You get up. Leave for work. On the way out, you tap your card at the cafe downstairs. A coffee you do not really need, but do really need. $4.50. You do not think about it. Nobody thinks about it. $4.50 is the price of feeling like a person before 9 in the morning. By the time you reach the office, you have already forgotten the transaction. That is the thing about small amounts. They are designed to be forgotten. They are small enough to slip through every filter your brain has for things worth remembering. Now hold that $4.50 in your mind. Round it up to 5, because this is not a story about coffee. This is a story about two people who started in the same place on the same Tuesday morning, and what $5 a day quietly did to the rest of their lives without either of them fully noticing until it was already done. You are 22. It is a Tuesday morning. Same alarm, same dark room, same phone too bright. But this morning, something is different. Last night, you watched something that bothered you enough to open a new app before you went to sleep. A brokerage account. The kind that lets you buy a tiny piece of every major company on earth for the price of what you spend without thinking. Before the coffee. Before the commute. Before the day takes everything you have. You transfer $5. The screen confirms it. Your balance is $5. It looks like a mistake. Like you accidentally sent money to yourself, from yourself. Like the beginning of a joke without a punchline yet. You set it to automatic, $5 a day. $150 a month. Gone before you can spend it. Gone before the Tuesday morning version of you who is tired and undercaffeinated can talk the Sunday night version of you out of it. You go downstairs. You still buy the coffee. But somewhere in the background of your life, something has started that will still be running long after you have forgotten this morning entirely. You are 24. 2 years in. The balance is around $4,800. You have put in $3,650 of your own money. The rest arrived without your help, without your attention, without a single decision after the first one. You are at a rooftop party that summer, and someone asks what you are doing with your money. You mention the index fund, the automatic transfer. Someone laughs. Not at you specifically, just at the number. $4,000, he says. My car cost more than that. He is not wrong. His car did cost more than that. It also loses value every single day he drives it. You do not say this. You get another drink and change the subject. But you notice something on the drive home. He talked about his car like it was an achievement. Like the size of what you spend is the same as the size of what you have. You are starting to understand that those are two completely different numbers, and almost nobody in your world seems to know that yet. You are 26, 4 years in. The balance is around $10,000. You have put in $7,300 of your own money. The account has added the rest while you were living your life, going to work, watching things, worrying about things, forgetting things. $10,000. You have never had $10,000 before, not in savings, not in anything. The number feels unfamiliar the way a room feels unfamiliar when the furniture has been rearranged. Same walls, different feeling. That year, a friend comes to you quietly. She needs to borrow money, not a lot. $800. Her washing machine broke, and she has nothing behind her, and everything in front of her still needs paying. You lend it to her without hesitating. She pays you back in 3 months. Later, she asks how you had it just sitting there. You tell her about the $5 a day. She is quiet for a moment. Then she says she spends more than that on things she cannot name. You tell her that is exactly the point. That is always exactly the point. You are 29, 7 years in. The balance is around $22,000. You have contributed $12,775 total. The account has handed you $9,000 more for the simple act of leaving it alone. $9,000 that required nothing from you. No extra hours, no second job, no lucky break. Nothing except the original decision made on a Tuesday morning 7 years ago that you have mostly forgotten making. Your friends are starting to feel the gap between where they are and where they thought they would be by now. They talk about it at dinner, about how expensive everything is, about how the rent keeps going up and the salary does not go up the same way, about how it feels like running towards something that keeps moving further away. You're in the conversation. You feel the same things they feel. But underneath the conversation, quietly, separately from everything being said, your balance just crossed $22,000, and it got there $5 at a time. You are 32, 10 years in. The balance is around $34,000. You have contributed $18,250 of your own money across a decade. The account has added $16,000 on top of that. For the first time, the gap between what you put in and what the account contains is wide enough to feel real. Wide enough to look at and think, that is not a number I could have saved my way to. That is a number that required time. And you had the time because you started. That same year, the market drops. Not a small dip, a real drop. The kind that makes headlines. The kind where people send each other articles with words like crash and collapse and what this means for your retirement. Your balance falls by almost a third in 6 weeks. You feel it. You would be lying if you said you did not feel it. But you do not sell. Not because you are brave. Not because you saw it coming. Not because you have some insight the market does not. You do not sell because selling would require you to do something. And the habit you built is a habit of doing nothing except keeping the transfer running. So you keep the transfer running, and 6 months later, the balance is back, and then higher than it was before the drop, and then higher still. The people who sold are trying to figure out when to get back in. You never left. You are 38, 16 years in. The balance is around $65,000. You have contributed $29,200 across 16 years. The account has more than doubled it. You are 38 years old, and you have $65,000 that nobody can see, that you never talk about, that exists completely separately from the version of your life that shows up on the outside. Same apartment you have had for 3 years. Same car you have had for 5. Same coffee from the cafe downstairs on Tuesday mornings when you need to feel like a person before 9. Nothing on the outside has changed in the ways people use to measure things, but something underneath has changed completely. You do not lie awake thinking about money the way you used to. Not because you have solved it, not because the bills stopped arriving or the rent stopped going up, but because somewhere in the last 16 years, a number grew behind your life, like a second floor being built on a house you were already living in. You did not watch it being built. You just kept paying the $5, and one day you looked up, and there was more above you than you remembered starting with. You are 45, 23 years in. The balance is around $115,000. You have contributed $41,975 of your own money. The account has added $73,000 on top of that, $73,000 that was never yours to earn. That arrived quietly while you were doing other things. You were at a family dinner that year and someone asks about retirement, the way they always ask about retirement now, that everyone is old enough for it to feel real. Most people at the table change the subject or say they have not thought about it or make a joke that lands soft. You say you think you will be okay. Nobody asks what you mean. You do not explain. The $5 was never loud. That was always the thing about it. The whole mechanism ran on silence. You are 52, 30 years in. The balance is around $210,000. You have contributed $54,750 of your own money across 3 decades. You read an article that year about retirement savings, about how most people your age have less than $50,000 put away, about how the gap between what people have and what they will need is wider than anyone wants to say out loud. You are not wealthy. You are ordinary in almost every measurable way. But you have $210,000 that grew out of a decision so small you nearly did not make it. And the article is not about you. You are 62, 40 years in. The balance is $480,000. Sit with the breakdown. The total you contributed across 40 years. $5 a day. $150 a month from 22 to 62. $73,000. The rest, $407,000, was never yours to earn, never worked for, never negotiated for, never stressed about in the dark at 6:47 on a Tuesday morning. It was the result of one small decision compounding quietly for 40 years in the background of a life being lived in the foreground. There was no secret. There was just a Tuesday morning at 22 when you transferred $5 before you could talk yourself out of it, and then another Tuesday, and another, until the Tuesdays became years, and the years became this. There is someone you grew up with, same school, same neighborhood, same starting line in almost every way that mattered. She started investing at 34. Same amount, same fund, same discipline from that point forward. Her balance at 62 is around $190,000. Still extraordinary, still more than most people will ever have saved. But she started 12 years after you. And those 12 years of Tuesday mornings, she spent the $5 instead of moving it. Cost her $290,000. Because compounding does not care about intentions. It only counts the years you gave it. And she gave it 12 fewer. Somewhere right now it is a Tuesday morning, an alarm going off in the dark, a phone screen too bright, a bank notification with a number that lives at the back of someone's mind, like a sound they have stopped hearing, a cafe downstairs, a card tap, $4.50, gone before the day has started. They are not doing anything wrong. $5 is nothing. $5 has always been nothing. That is the only reason it works. That is the only reason almost nobody does it. And the only reason the few who do end up standing in such a completely different place 40 years later without being able to point to any single morning that made the difference. Because it was never one morning. It was every morning. And you only ever got to choose what those mornings were quietly adding up to while you were busy living them.